So there you go, everybody's here. Let's get this. And trying to be going here. All right. This is the time and place for a city commission meeting here in South Dakota, March 29th, 2021. Roll call, please.
Smith.
Here.
Cook.
Here.
Wright.
Here.
Roberts.
Present.
Mayor Harrington.
Here. Public forum. Let's do the pledge of allegiance, thanks. Ready to pledge allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I guess we do agenda approval.
Public forum first.
Public forum, okay. To read the public forum.
You read top to bottom here.
Public forum. My first night here. Public forum. Public comments may be sent during the live meeting broadcast on the city's YouTube channel. This link is listed on the city website at www.huronsd.com/citygovernment. In order to use the YouTube chat feature, please create an account with your YouTube and Gmail, or use your existing accounts. Please state your name, address for the record. Public forum is limited to the maximum of 3 minutes per person. We have our HR Director, Nathan Hofer, sitting on a computer at the back of the room, and if you send a notice to a question to him, he'll get it to us. We'll stop the meeting and try to give you an answer to your question. Other than that, is there anybody in our room tonight that has public forum questions or something? Yes. Finance officer.
So I just wanted to let everybody know that we are doing absentee voting. Started today at 8 a.m. So the city is from 8 to 5. You can also vote absentee at the school business office from 7:30 to 4.
And how long can they do that?
Up till the day before the election.
Day before, okay. All right. Thank you.
Photo ID required though, I
Yes,
presume?
yes, correct.
Any other questions or comments on public forum?
Well, just,
Sure.
as long as
Commissioner
we have a
Cook.
short meeting, so.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'm getting my second vaccination, so I thought I would just urge the public to get one when they're able to. It's my understanding it's going quite well in town, but we need everybody to participate as much as they can. And so I urge everybody to get the vaccination when it is available to you.
Thank you. Yeah, it seems like we're talking to more people, we run into more people that have had their shots than we do that have not had their shots. Maybe I'm just traveling in the wrong circle, I don't know. But
Well, the older people are getting these shots.
that's
so
why
probably-
that's why I'm in that
Thank you.
circle. Yeah, okay. But it's a good idea, it surely is, and it is going in the right direction for us too, so that's very important to our city. Any other public forums? All right, agenda approval. We've got some additions to agenda. We're going to have an agenda of 3.2. We're going to add a police position. We want to advertise for another police position. And also, in 8.2, we're going to
No, 4.3.8 is adding a position, and 4.3.3, this is the correction to a name.
oh, it's that.
Instead of Copeland, it's
Yeah,
supposed to be Cutler.
yeah, Cutler, yeah, okay. Yeah, because we are not amending the one on the back. This is, for the second amendment to our agenda tonight will be 4.3, number 3. We're changing a name from Copeland to Cutler. That was misput in there. So those are the two agendas for the meeting tonight. Anybody else have any others? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Need a motion and a second?
We have a motion.
I'll move to approve the amendments to the agenda.
Commissioner Rovers, second.
Second.
Commissioner Smith. Now we have a roll call vote.
Smith.
Aye.
Cook.
Aye.
Wright.
Aye.
Roberts.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Consent agenda. Matters appearing on the consent agenda are expected to be non-controversial and will be acted upon by the commission one time without discussion. Unless a member of the commission requests an opportunity to address any given item, items removed from the consent agenda will be discussed at the beginning of the formal items. 4.1, minutes of March 22nd, 2021 meeting. 4.2, fuel quotes for city departments. 4.3, personnel. Accept resignation of Sarah Rogers from the police department. Number 2, hire Ivy Copeland as part-time year-round library clerk. 3 is hire Isaiah Cutler as a park maintenance 1. 4, hire Damon Robish as a part-time Broadland Creek Pro Shop attendant. 5, Garrett Welch has completed his probationary period and is eligible for benefits. 6, accept the resignation of Randall Meyer from the street department. And 7, hire a partial list of seasoned park recreation summer committees should be approved. 4, okay. Okay, 4.4 is payment of the bills. Roll call vote. Motion.
I'd move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay, Commissioner Bragg, need a second on that?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Smith. Now we'll have roll call vote.
Smith.
Aye.
Clute.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Rubbish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. Bids and quote items. I see we have our city engineer, Brett Renge here tonight. He's got about 5 items here that he can discuss, explain to us, and we can vote on. So, Mr. Renge, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. 5.1, consider correction to Phase 1 wastewater treatment engineering contract. And what this is the City Commission previously had met and approved an amendment for the wastewater improvements contract for construction administration with DGR Engineering. And we approved the amendment amount of $670,588 for the construction admin. The issue is with that original contract is that the total amount that was then listed on that contract was not correct. It was $1,345,881, and that was not the correct math there. So DGR had caught this along with the city, and we both parties agree that this needs to be amended and corrected. So the actual final amount is $1,322,533. So the engineering department would recommend correcting this error and authorizing the mayor to sign the revised and corrected agreement. Basically, it's a correction for a math error on an agreement that we had signed.
Okay. Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved. Commissioner Clute, need a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Bragg. Any discussion on this item? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Clute.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Rubbish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. 5.2, Brett.
Consider payment number 1 to Gritter Construction, Inc. for bid number 2021-05, Phase 1 wastewater treatment facility improvements in the amount of $283,500. This is basically just mobilization to the site. They've moved a lot of equipment out there. This is for our big wastewater job. And they are gonna get started moving dirt around and get started here this week, or if not next week, but likely this week. They've already started doing a little bit of small work out there. But we recommend approval of this pay request for mobilization costs.
Okay. Motion?
I'd move approval.
Commissioner Bragg moves to approve. Second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Smith. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Clute.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Rubbish.
Aye.
Mayor Harrington.
Aye. 5.3, Brett.
Consider awarding bid number 2021-23 street utility improvements, 3rd Street, Pennington to Union Ave. The city, we received bids for the 3rd Street, Pennington, Union Ave street utility improvements project. And Midland Contracting, Inc. of Huron, South Dakota submitted the low bid and meets our specification requirements. So we recommend that a bid is awarded to Midland Contracting for $1,387,307.13. This bid is a little higher than what was estimated for the project, but it's still within what we had budgeted back last July, August timeframe. So we're still within bid. And the budget amount was $1,503,800. So we have $116,492.87 under budget this time if there's additions or changes. But we're also, we'll need some construction admin services from the engineer under that though too. So we recommend award of this bid to Midland Contracting.
Motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Commissioner Smith, motion approves. Second.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Bragg. Any discussion on this topic?
Just a
Yes, Commissioner Clue.
question for Brett. So the additional costs that we're gonna have, do you think they'll approximate the under budget amount, or? How
Yes,
likely are we to
at this
go-
point, we don't have any additional costs, so that would be a change order, which that's a swear word up
Okay.
here. So,
Yeah,
so at this point, I think that we will fund that budget.
okay, so the extra costs are just potential change orders?
Potential, and then there's some construction admin under there, but we're flexing schedule. I believe that the city's gonna do a lot of it ourselves.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Brett on this topic? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Clute,
Aye.
Bragg,
Aye.
Robish, Mayor Harrington.
Aye. 4.4, Brett.
All right, consider request to bid, authorize addendums as deemed necessary by the city engineer, and set the bid opening for 2:00 PM on April 13th, 2021 for project 2021-02, concrete replacement 2021. This is basically replacing concrete curb and gutter and handicap ADA ramps at various places in town. The Schedule A has to do with a lot of the northwestern portion of town, north of Highway 14, and then there's Schedule C, which is South Terrace Drive. And then we added Schedule D, which is the 3rd Street Dam concrete. So that 3rd Street Dam project has basically drifted for so long because the high water level that we had on 3rd Street, that we had to go back and rebid that because we couldn't hold the contractor to what he had originally bid there. When we did that, there wasn't enough concrete there and the prices came in really high. So since we knew we were doing this concrete replacement job, we decided to slide that in with this concrete replacement job when we're gonna get a contractor in town doing this work anyways, and hopefully get some better pricing. So we recommend, the cost estimate for the total project then, with the 3rd Street Dam concrete is $221,000. And we recommend proceeding with the bid.
Need a motion?
Move to approve.
Commissioner Smith, need a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Bragg. Time for discussion. Anybody got any questions for Brett on this?
I have
Yes,
You
Commissioner
first.
Smith, you bet.
Brett, specifically on the dam, what is happening there? Is it, you gonna blow it up and start over, or what are you doing?
No, what we're looking at doing is on the west side, doing some concrete stairs that come down to the water level, and then there'll be a sidewalk there that'll kind of match up to, there's supposed to be some large stones, rock set for sitting on, and the sidewalk will kind of meander to that, and then we'll do the same thing with sidewalk on the east side. There'll be no concrete stairs on the east side, but there'll be some sidewalk there.
That was kind of part of that overall vision of that riprap, wasn't it?
It was, yep. If you go down there right now on the east side, there's still a big cut where the contractor had access to put the rock in. That's all supposed to be getting basically restored and put back, and then we'd be putting, they got some additional riprap or additional rock to set in that area for the bank stabilization. But then within that rock, there'd be this area where this sidewalk goes so that you can walk through that area, walk into that area. So it is part of the vision, as you said, yes.
Yeah. How will that respond when it floods? Will it push it up?
It's 6-inch reinforced concrete, which is pretty heavy duty for sidewalk purposes. So barring any underminement, you know, like if soil gets washed out underneath it, it should hold up. But that's why we have the shore stabilization there from our consultant design to break up that water flow, so we shouldn't get the undermining underneath the sidewalk itself.
Good. Should be a hopefully attractive one.
It should be, yep.
Yeah.
It's gonna have a handrail, like a bronze handrail on the stairs that take you down to the water level then on the west side, so.
And is there a timeline when this is gonna happen?
The completion date on this project would be, the end of the year, basically October 30th, 2021.
Rod holders and bait buckets.
I don't know, maybe we could change order those in.
Any other questions on this for Brett? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Clute.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Rubbish.
Aye.
Mayor Hampton.
Aye. Thanks, Brett, appreciate it. 8.1, departmental items. We have a HR Director, Nathan Hofer, is going to come explain what this is.
So, last time we met about this, we extended our COVID policy for personnel reasons to April 1st, and that's coming up. So, put on the agenda tonight to discuss and see what we want to do. In the last 2 months that we had it, only one person has used the leave. We only had one person, city employee, full-time, that got it. I guess if it were up to me, I would like to see it discontinued for the summer or for the continuation of this year. Obviously, we'll keep it on file if we ever feel like we need to reenact it again. But getting into the summer months and our part-time employees and seasonal employees and things like that, it could get very messy and expensive for the city if we kept it going, especially the guaranteed pay part of it. So we haven't had, like I said, one person. Well, I've had one call on it in 2 months. So I mean, the leave requirements and things like that, I just think if we just discontinued it and like I said, keep it on file if we ever felt the need to bring it back on board. But at this time, with the way our numbers are going down, Barry and I talked about it a little bit this morning in our 8:30 meeting, that we feel that it's something of that restrictive is no longer necessary. So I'll leave it up to you guys from there, but that's my opinion on it. If you have any questions.
Mayor.
Yes, you.
Nathan, can you, just for clarification, the resolution that has been passed, obviously that affects public buildings and so on, maybe
This is
remind-
just for our city employees, in our policy handbook for, our guidelines and, the close contact definitions that we approved, and then the pay for the employees who are required to take time quarantine at home, or whatever you wanna call it now, so. That's what this is. This is.
We're
not
just
for-
talking about the pay for COVID, aren't we?
If you wanna look at that part of it, yeah, we can do that, or do you wanna just continue the whole, like, if somebody comes in close contact, are we still gonna wanna send them home for a certain amount of days and not pay them and make them take sick leave? Is our next option, however we wanna write it, or we could get rid of the whole thing altogether?
And they can utilize your sick leave if they become sick from it.
Yes, they'd be just
Just
like
like-
any other illness. If they
Yeah.
don't, if it's under their judgment, they're not able to come to work, or they have a doctor's note, they can use their sick leave just like anything else.
Well, if I may, Mayor,
Sure.
your major objection was, we're approaching the summer seasonal employment, which would make it messy, and I understand that.
Mhm.
But would that be this month, April? Do we have any?
We just onboarded.
Well, I think they're going to be hired, but I don't think they'll be on board, will they?
On board, our day camp workers are starting, and then,
Really?
yeah, they're on board working in prep, so we do already have the first of this month, we had
I
some,
was just thinking, well, maybe go one more month.
yeah.
Parks
You
and
know.
Rec,
Parks and Rec programs are starting in April too.
Yep.
so
They are starting in April.
So we'll be, this would be the month to make a decision.
And the point of that is that policy does affect part-time.
Affects everybody, all city employees, so, obviously, if they contract it and have a positive test, they're gonna have to stay home until, I'm gonna treat it like anything else. If they have a doctor's note says you have to be out this long, you have to be out this long. And then, we're really not making that decision based on guidelines anymore. We're gonna, cause most sicknesses or people that are ill or whatever that have a need to stay home, I ask them for a doctor's note anyway. So,
I think where this one would be different than any other sickness though, and I don't know how private businesses are making the change now, because that would be if we believe someone is a risk and we want to say you need to stay home even though the employee would like to come to work. That would be, right now, this policy says you
that
need to
covers
stay
this.
out.
Yeah.
So that would be the only thing, if we had somebody that was a close contact but didn't believe they were sick and chose to come to work anyway, could that potentially endanger somebody else? So right now, you would be able to say, we do not want you to come to work.
Yeah, and if we just continue this, we're not offering them and there's no compensation for them to stay home anymore. So I'm assuming that if we take the compensation away, people just aren't gonna tell us, realistically, if they wanna continue their paycheck. So,
Well, we don't wanna bring COVID into the workforce. That seems to be a no-brainer, right? So if we discontinue this policy, we're more likely to do that, isn't that right? I understand that the infections are down and that's great, and at some point they'll be down to nothing and that'll become a totally moot issue, but it is a moot yet. The virus is still out there, so I would hate to have somebody come to work and infect a lot of people. That wouldn't be.
obviously, that's why we're talking about it now.
Can we cut out the seasonal employees from the policy? Would that satisfy you?
Are we able to do that?
We can do whatever we would like, but that.
Does that make sense, and is it legal, I think is what.
Yeah, is it legal? I guess, I don't know if that would be legal or not. Off the top of my head, I wouldn't know if you could restrict it to full-time benefit eligible employees or not. But, I still think that with the way things are right now and the lack that or the little it's been used in the past, even 3 or 4 months, we've only used it 2 or 3 times for a close contact, and one guy had a positive test. So, I think that discontinuing it would be sufficient, and then, like I said, if we run into problems, we can always bring it back up on the table and enforce it. It's already written, it's already done, so
Well, and we could keep, I realize what you said, folks may not choose to tell us, but
They
we
may
could
not.
go the other route and say, hopefully, people would be
Yeah,
honest. So we
exactly.
could just keep the policy in place, that we still do not want you to come to work if you're a close contact, but remove the compensation they would have to do there.
that is an option.
Yeah, because we're not taking away their sick leave, they're still gonna have sick leave.
Right.
that-
So we can eliminate the compensation part of it and leave the definitions and quarantine lengths of time. I don't really know what you want to call it. We could leave that in place. We have options. That's why we're here talking about it, so.
I would assume by removing it, goes back to the part-time deal, they don't have any
They don't have any sick leave.
sick leave built up or anything like that.
So if we have a part-time person or a seasonal employee that gets it, and we have a policy that requires them to stay home for 2 weeks, that's a good chunk of their employment for the summer.
So you're saying if we removed this policy, we would, even for somebody that was a actual tested positive,
They would have to use their,
but if we remove it altogether, we have nothing. Someone could knowingly test positive, still choose to come to work and not be in any kind of violation of policy.
that's correct.
So if it isn't really been an issue, what would be the harm in continuing the policy? That's what I'm
Because
not quite tracking here.
If we, I mean, if we did have a seasonal person that is a close contact, let's say, that's not positively tested, our policy still says that we need to have them go home, and then we're short-staffing ourselves on our seasonal employees. And, I mean, if someone tests positive, that's a whole different ballgame than the close contacts and the other stuff like that we have in the policy now. So we can edit it way down, or we can, I mean, like I said, there's options. It just gets to be a staffing issue if, you know, we have a high school party and we have it written the way it is, that you're gonna lose somebody test positive there, and you have all these close contacts that were involved, and then we're gonna be down a bunch of people in the department that are more than likely not sick.
I think we could look at the close contact. I would personally like to see us maintain a policy that if you knowingly have a positive test,
You
that
can
you
stay
don't
home.
come into work.
Okay, and we can.
And we pay.
If we, you know, I think especially if we can limit that to full-time, which, you know, again, I don't know legally, I know there are other benefits that you can extend to only certain job classes, so I would think potentially we would have the right to do that, but even a part-timer, if they've tested positive, we don't want them to come in.
Right.
But do we, you know, that could get expensive if,
Well, is the danger of not paying them though, them not telling us, isn't that the problem?
Could be.
that's part of the other part is.
We wanna know.
The other part he brought up last time is these get tricky because what do you pay them? You know, if they're part-time, it's not like they have a set schedule, they make X amount per week. So if someone needs to be gone for 2 weeks, at what rate, you know, who knows how many weeks or how many hours they would have worked as a part-timer. That's the part he mentioned last time,
Yeah.
that makes it
It's-
difficult with those seasonal.
It'd be a lot- it'd be a lot
Aren't they scheduled though for a certain number of hours, so that if they don't work those scheduled hours, those would be the hours we compensate them for?
I mean, they do have some schedule, but a lot of them work outside of the schedule too. I mean, when called in for different things and different needs in different departments, I mean, it would be a lot of payroll work, I mean, to do it, to figure out what exactly you pay them, and it would be a lot of work on our end. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not doable.
Yeah.
But it would get a lot messier with the part-time. I mean, we're bringing on, you know, 70 to 100 people, more people that we would have to keep track of that way on top of our full-time help. And
The close contact was a self-proclamation.
yeah,
We're not notified of that,
no, that's.
other than through the employee. The seasonal, I'm sure that you're all over the board for hours. I mean, they may put in 40, and they may only put in 4, it just
Yeah,
depends on the.
if we have softball tournaments or baseball tournaments or stuff, but that's just the Parks and Rec for an example. I mean, different reading programs at the library, and, you know, you got the day camps and everything, they're all over the board for hours, so.
Could you say if a part-time worker was infected and we knew they were infected, we said you gotta stay home, we'll pay you an arbitrary number of hours, like 10 or 15 per week? Is that,
If that's legal, I mean, I guess I don't.
well, you're not working.
Yeah.
You're getting paid for not working. I mean, you think an 18, 17-year-old's gonna sue us? I mean, I'm serious, I really.
If the policy is clearly defined ahead of time, we should be safe. I mean, as long as we have a policy in place and we follow it clearly, you know, I mean, we could certainly double check to make sure we're not in trouble, but I would assume whatever if we clearly set out and then follow that, we should be safe.
No, sorry to
Go ahead.
interrupt, but we could also, and I never thought about this, you know, we could see what other cities are doing. We had done that previous when we extended it, you know, based on knowing that we're not being reimbursed for those hours anymore. It was coming directly out of the budget with no sick leave tied to it. We could see what other cities are doing at this point as well.
And they were kind of all over the board when we addressed this a couple months ago. Some cities discontinued, if you get sick, you have to use your sick leave. I think we were the only one that paid them, as far as I remember, out of our budget. Some people, you know, allowed them to take it without burning leave. I mean, whatever they wanted, it was all over the board. I could revisit that and see what they're doing if you'd like to, or said we got, okay, it's our policy, we write it the way we want, we just to make sure we don't get in trouble and, you know, minimize the mess.
I think what we're forgetting about in this whole conversation is our department heads. They know their workers, they know what's going on. They pretty much know if somebody's they'll come right in and talk to them. I think we're overlooking our department heads.
Yeah.
We're taking it out.
I'm not saying that, I don't think that people will, you know, neglect to tell us if they were sick, but it is always an option. It's an
Yeah.
option now when it's in place.
We had that one employee, then we don't mention names or departments, but
Yeah.
thought he was gonna use it for a summer vacation.
Yeah.
It wasn't a joke though, he said it, right?
Yeah,
Did he say that?
he thought it
It's
was
not-
he thought it was a leave bank he could draw from, and
We're gonna use it this summer.
so,
Gotta do that now.
I mean, there's always the very distinct possibility it will, in the summertime, will get abused as well, you know, people crying wolf. So,
So what's your thoughts? We wanna do
I'm kind of on the same page as Commissioner Klutz, at least for April. Maybe what we'd look at is, as we get closer to May, we're gonna have more, give COVID a little bit of time to see what the track history is doing, but I think that would be a good settlement point for seasonal part-time people, just rather than trying to guess how many hours they're going to have, just have a flat. If you qualify it as that, at that level of employment, it's a flat 10 hours for that week or something.
okay,
Well, as the policy reads right now, with a positive test, how long do they?
14 days.
14 days they need to be up for return. And is that something else we could look at? I mean, is that still consistent with the, I know a lot of private businesses are having folks come back sooner than that. Is that still in the CDC guidelines, the full 14 days?
Yeah, it is, but you can test out. I mean, you can test out early.
after the 5th day, you can
Right.
get tested and
The,
come back to the 7th with a
and I
negative
can-
test or whatever.
You know, from my perspective, looking at the testing and everything that's going on, today we have 5,600 people who have had at least one shot. 5,600 people. In the last week, we've had 1,500 vaccinations done. So if you assume that that would continue for the next 3 weeks, you'd be over roughly around 10,000 vaccinations done in the county. What we have been using internally as an estimate is, you know, based on, for whatever reason, maybe only 70% of the population would take the vaccination. And of those 70%, you'd probably lose, you'd probably only get another 70% to, and that would account for kids under 18 at this time. So using that, we came up with a number of a projected threshold of about 9,090, somewhere between 9,000 and 9,500 people in the county would likely get the vaccination on the front end. Now, we're talking about a possible pod within 30 days where it's essentially a vaccination clinic that could mean between what we guess would be between 300 and 500 inoculations. So that would help as well. So I think what you're seeing, you're going to see a real uptick in the vaccinations, and the likelihood of a push again is very small, or is at least going down, let me put it that way. You know, there's always the potential for a family here or there to show up with, you know, with some of this. But generally, that's what we're seeing in the numbers. And we're seeing, you know, basically our 7-day average of new cases is about 3 per day across the entire county, where our recoveries are actually over 6, so almost 2 to 1. in recoveries, and so that's why our actives are dropping so quickly, is we're down to 43 today. I would expect in the next week we'll be in the 30s pretty easily, if not the 20s. So for whatever that information helps with this discussion, so.
Well, I think it tells us that in the next month, after another month, we're gonna be in pretty good shape vaccination-wise,
I would agree.
and that this policy will be a lot less necessary. Or-
Yeah,
So I'm kind of inclined just to say, continue it for one more month, and then we'll let it go.
I don't have a problem. You have a problem with that, Mark?
No.
Okay. I think that's what
Can we, do we right now require them to attempt to test out of it rather than just sitting there 14 days automatically? I mean, can we either provide or ask them to get a test to attempt to come back if they're?
I mean, we leave it as an option. I don't know that we really can require anybody to get any sort of, you know, the pre-employment physical to do any sort of medical treatment.
because that's a CDC recommendation, that to do the 14 days.
You can get
You
a
can
test.
opt out, but I don't know if we can do that. Chuck, you think we could do that?
Require a test?
Yeah, that after 5 days, they retest, so they wouldn't have the whole 14 days.
You could leave them the option to do that, to test out.
But can we force them to do it?
That's something I would want to look into.
Yeah, that's where.
I'd be cautious about that.
I don't
Well,
like that.
you could encourage them to do it.
Right, certainly.
Yeah,
Best incentive there may be the pay.
you cut the pay out.
Yeah. To
Cut the
take the
pay
pay out.
if you don't.
No, cut the pay, period, and then they're gonna wanna get back to work.
Mhm. As a policy, as a matter of policy.
Yeah.
And so, you know, even for full-timers, move it to just 7 days instead of 14 or
Mhm.
something like that.
Some version of that would be maybe more appropriate.
Okay. So you want to leave it in for a month, for another month, so?
I'm fine with that. By then,
I
you know,
got
you're
it.
gonna have your bulk of seasonal employees coming in when you're gaining speed, obviously, but.
Yeah, we're starting to get some traction. We'll do our first group of pool employees. That'll be on the agenda next week.
Yeah. I think that's a good idea.
So you don't, so you're saying no change, not an arbitrary set number of hours for part-timers, nor a reduction in the number of days for full-timers?
To be clear, it's already
Leave it
out
as
there,
is.
it's the policy. And then
Keep it till
we'll
May
just-
1st.
You wanna sunset it now, and you don't have to bring this back to the commission, or
Yeah, so like at May 1st, we're done.
just say May 1st, it's done?
Because,
May 1st,
see,
that's
our
fine.
pool's not gonna open up till the end of May, so that would eliminate, 20, 25 people there that we wouldn't have to worry about.
More than that even, but yeah.
Yeah.
And I still would say, whatever point we feel like we're ready to sunset this, I guess I would still like to see us maintain the policy on record that if you have a positive test, you don't come to work. And whether or not people choose to not follow that, I guess that's on them. But I think it should be our city policy that if you have a positive test, you're expected to not come back to work until you test negative.
Well, that's a very good point, but I would take the compensation out of it.
That's what I'm
May
saying,
1st.
right.
How's
That-
that
yeah,
sound?
that
So
was-
that,
that was my thought.
so that would be the only change.
So we
to
could
the
table
policy.
it and Tucker and I can get together and write something else for approval on May 1st, or edit what we have.
Yeah.
So it is, as of now, it's expiring April 1st, so you need a motion to continue it.
To continue it until May.
Okay, so I would move that we continue it as unchanged through the month of April.
Okay.
You want to sunset it?
Sounds like if they've got to do some work to bring something back to us anyway for a new vote in May, we probably wouldn't need to.
If that's what we want to do, because it would be more of an alter to a policy than
Okay,
necessarily.
so we have a motion on the floor. Need a second for that motion?
I'll second that.
Second that motion? Okay. Any more discussion about this topic?
The only thing, if I may,
Go ahead, yeah.
the only thing I'd maybe point out would be the direction that the mayor was talking about is, we approve that with reconsideration in May with different criteria, I'm a little more inclined to go, I think, I know where you're headed with that is end it in May 1, and that way if we don't need to do any changes, it's done. And then we'd have,
That's fine, either, it doesn't really matter, because we would need to address it in May either way, so I'm fine to amend my motion for that, because as a matter of policy, it's not gonna change, we're still gonna have to meet if we continue it into May one way or another, so I'm
Right,
fine to
correct.
amend my motion that way.
So you want to change your motion to sunset it effective April,
May 1.
30th or 31st.
April
and
30th.
then Whatever.
We're just gonna look at when we meet.
26th is the last month.
26th is our last Monday.
Okay?
And I'll second that, I'll change my
So
second.
we'll sunset it on the 26th,
Okay.
okay?
Sunset at the end of the month, so we have a chance to address it on the 26th.
26th. All those in favor, we got a roll call vote on this?
Smith?
aye?
Coe?
Aye.
Brad?
Aye.
Robish?
Aye.
Mayor Harrington?
Aye. Thank you. We're done.
Talk to them.